As you guys know, I recently went to Iran. Yes, Iran. Uh-oh, somebody's gonna get in trouble. Just kidding, I actually had no problem going to Iran or returning from it. At least not yet. So many people warned me about going to Iran. There are just so many misconceptions about this place. People think it's like this big, evil Shia society of chaos and mischief, but of course, that couldn't be further from the truth. So I'd like to share with you some of my insights about my trip to Iran. Because what I found actually is that it's a safe, beautiful, inspiring country that blends together religion, history, revolution, and culture. But first things first, I was there attending the 3rd annual Subh Media Festival. I was there with many other journalists like Max Blumenthal, Ajamu Baraka, George Galloway. I was there with Professor Marandi, Alistair Crook, and many other brilliant journalists and activists. The festival opened up with this brilliant performance by Iran's orchestra. Both men and women put on a very passionate performance of the national anthem and many other classics. Now, I don't want to sound like a goofball here, but I have to admit, it was awesome seeing hijabis tear it up on the cello, the violin, and all the other instruments that I know nothing about. And while that may not sound special to you, I think it's noteworthy because of the incredibly Islamophobic perception people have of Muslim women, and of course Iran. Some people really just cannot fathom a Muslim hijabi woman doing anything other than cooking and cleaning in the kitchen. And while we're on the subject of hijab, I might as well point out that despite the fact that it's the Islamic Republic of Iran, there are actually women who don't have to wear the hijab. They don't. They walk around the streets as if it's completely normal. Now, obviously I was in Tehran, it's a more liberal urban environment, but still, it just isn't the place that you've been told that it is. Women are not beaten and tortured and killed for not wearing the hijab properly. That's just not true, even though it's technically mandatory. But as you can see here at this cultural festival, women are singing and dancing and they're not really wearing the hijab properly. And of course, this isn't just limited to Muslim women. I posted this video earlier of this guy who was playing a hand drum. He looks like he lives in California. I saw Gothic kids, which was really funny because nothing against Goths, but of all the Western cultural trends that you could tap into, why would you become Gothic? I don't know, but yeah, nothing against Goths, but I just thought that was funny to see. So despite all the propaganda you've been exposed to, Iran is actually a perfectly normal place where people's rights are respected and non-religious cultural practices are allowed. Now, this obviously is a recent development over the last few years, particularly the last decade, but it is happening. But these are just like the basic observations that you can make about Iran. What I was paying attention to was how clean the society was. I've been all over the Middle East. I've been to many other Muslim countries in the world. Iran was probably the cleanest Muslim country I've ever been to in my entire life. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that. It was incredibly well developed. I didn't see a single pothole in the street. I found it to be comparable to Turkey, which is very impressive considering the fact that Iran has been under sanctions for 45 years. Despite these sanctions, they have a very well-developed infrastructure of public transportation. So not only do you not find potholes, but you actually have a very sophisticated and advanced subway system that takes you anywhere in the city. And it's not just in Tehran. This is all over Iran in the different cities as well, which is actually very important because Iran is plagued by bad traffic, especially Tehran, which has the 2nd largest population of any city in the Middle East. So driving is a headache. It's a nightmare. There's a lot of pollution. So the public transportation system, the subway, the buses, this really does help. So to me, Iran came across as completely self-sustainable. They produce their own food, their own energy, their own tools, equipment, products, services, you name it. They even have their own version of Uber. So this is an advanced society that can produce whatever it needs, which is inspiring because you see the dependence that other Muslim countries have around the world, where they are dependent on Western powers to give them basic infrastructure and tools and services and equipment. I also got to take an official tour of their National Aerospace Museum, which was a lot of fun for me. The presentation was given by an official IRGC General of Public Relations, and he gave us an official tour of their ballistic missiles and their drones, their space and satellite program. All of it was incredibly impressive. Again, this is a country under sanctions for 45 years, yet they've developed their own sophisticated rocketry. They developed their own radars, air defense systems. I mean, they're not just making their own Uber or growing their own food, they're building their own defense. And that to me is ultimately why I think Western countries are so bothered by Iran. It isn't just that they could make a nuclear weapon, it's that they don't want to be a consumer culture where they buy everything from the West who profits off their resources and their needs. They are a producer culture. They are a producer society, civilization. They make their own things. They stand on their own 2 feet, and they've paid a heavy price for doing that. And that's possible because the Irani people, at least the ones that I met, were incredibly patriotic. They're committed and dedicated to this vision, not just of the revolution, but of Iran as a whole, which includes thousands and thousands of years of civilizational history. They have had some of the greatest empires and kingdoms. Parts of the Silk Road went through Iran. It's near Central Asia, so you have so many different cultures and peoples and languages. So it really is just a special, unique place. But let me stop yapping and cut to the chase and tell you what you really need to know about Iran. This is the thing that nobody focuses on: the food. The food, oh my God, it was so good. The kebab, the chicken, so juicy. I must have gained like 10 pounds because it was all I was eating. I never like to eat rice or bread, but there I broke all my rules. I was cheating and I was eating kebab, rice, chicken all the time. It was so damn good. I swear to God, I'm not even exaggerating. I know it's good all over the Middle East. It isn't just in Iran, but I've had kebab and I've had chicken all over the Middle East, and I've never had it like I've had it in Iran. So all in all, Iran is just not what you think. There are a lot of geopolitical tensions between Iran and the rest of the Muslim world. My hope is that the leaders of these countries will find a way to align their interests and negotiate a peaceful path forward so that the entire region can flourish, because the people everywhere, all over the region, are beautiful. I love them. And in Iran, I'm telling you, as a Sunni, I never felt uncomfortable. There was never any animosity towards me. I didn't feel like I was in a Shia country whatsoever. Now, I was in Tehran, obviously. If I had gone to some of the more religious cities, I probably would have felt that. But there are millions of Sunnis who live in Iran and their rights are respected. And so I think one way that we can break through this like anti-Sunni or anti-Shia divide, people just need to see each other. That's it. People need to break bread with each other. They need to pray together. They need to see each other. And I think that will just dispel any myths or rumors you hear. The people of Iran are normal. They're not these crazed Shia anti-Sunni people who are going to chop your head off because they hate you and they want to conquer you. That is not it at all. Again, there are a lot of geopolitical differences. Unfortunately, these differences are exploited, they're politicized, and religious extremists spread propaganda in order to demonize the other side to gain some kind of political gain over one another. But when it comes to geopolitics, you have to remember to divorce that from the people on the ground. Most people are just everyday humans that cook food and eat food and want to do business and live their life, and they're totally peaceful and generous and kind. And we have to remember that and humanize each other because of external forces that constantly try to dehumanize us. I really hope people can kind of remember this when we're thinking about these geopolitical differences, to just zoom in and remember societies are essentially a collective of individual people, and people are good. Most people, at least. Israel's a different case. We've seen the polls coming out. They're genocidal maniacs. So we'll set that story aside. Before I end, I want to leave you with this story. We were interviewing an Iranian woman and we asked her, what does freedom mean to you? Now, she had a very interesting response because she was speaking positively about Iran and she was also criticizing Iran. She was just giving us her raw feedback as someone who actually lives there. And what does freedom mean to you? And she hesitated because she wasn't really prepared to answer the question. But after some thought, she said, I just wish that at the end of the month, I could save some money. And I thought that was such an interesting response because obviously the West weaponizes sanctions against governments, but we know that these sanctions actually punish and hurt the people. And that's the entire point. You want the people to feel like they're no longer free, that they can't feed their families, that they can't save money at the end of the month because they want them to turn against their own government. So that's an unfortunate reality. But I also thought it was interesting because I was thinking about the American people. American people can't save money at the end of the month. And she's sitting here describing it, thinking that American people do have that ability. But most Americans are drowning in debt. Most Americans, yeah, they can travel, they can buy things, but they don't really own it. They are borrowing that money. They're borrowing it at high interest. And so many people are not only drowning in debt, but they are incapable of surviving a basic emergency, a $500 bill that's unexpected, whether it's from a health scare or your tires going out on your car or you get into a car accident that can bankrupt you. So many Americans live under those conditions. So Americans can't even save money at the end of the month. And I just thought financial freedom in America is an illusion. People don't own their house. They don't own their car. They don't even own their education. Okay. They have to borrow money to learn. So even though Iran has been under sanctions for 45 years, financial freedom is an illusion, even for us living here in America. Anyway, I hope this video was beneficial for you. My deepest hope is that Muslims in the region will look past these politicized, sectarian, extremist divides and see each other, whether you're Sunni or Shia, as human, and connect with one another and produce an environment in which our leaders can no longer exploit our religious and cultural differences. And hopefully the region will have shared interests, aligned interests, so they can move forward peacefully without constantly trying to undermine each other or gain leverage over one another just to feel secure. And I also hope that America and Iran can avoid war, because that would be destructive for Iran, for the people of the region. And if Iran decides to retaliate in the way that they've been saying, it could be destructive for so many people around the world. It will spike energy prices. Overall, it would just be incredibly destructive. And as we know, it just benefits the state of Israel. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Thanks, and until next time.